Bradley Hall.
Hello, good morning.
You're from the UK, Brighton?
Yes, indeed so. Yeah.
So did you like grow up there? Or what's the deal there?
Yeah, I've been down here for the majority of my life. I've lived in a few countries, but always come back to Brighton. It's I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's a very chill little place. It's a bit like the UK version of San Francisco, supposedly, like a little sort of like chill, arty, sort of liberal bubble, which is all very nice.
Gotcha. So you've lived in other countries as well.
Yeah, I've lived in Greece for a while. I lived in Russia, in Moscow for a little while as well. So been all over the shop.
So what led you to those places?
Greece was for work, and Russia was for a girlfriend.
Oh, a girlfriend, eh?
Yeah.
I guess it didn't work out since you're back in the UK now, eh?
No, that would probably for the best as well, considering how things turned out there. So lucky
Okay.
escape.
Not bad. Cool, man. Yeah, I've only been to the UK once, and that was recently. We actually chatted a little bit while I was there. Tried to meet up. Things didn't work
Yeah,
out.
it's a shame we didn't manage to sync up there.
Yeah, next time, man. Next time.
Yeah.
And have you ever come to Canada?
Well, I'm going to Jared Dines is doing like a meetup thing in the summer, and he lives in like Washington. I don't know how close it is to you, but it's on the border, right? So might be able to do something then.
Yeah, it is like pretty close to the border, but it's like the opposite side of the country. So
Oh no, all right, never mind then. I
yeah,
also get how fucking big the US and Canada is, man. Like UK is minuscule.
yeah. Well, it's crazy because like people in the UK, from my understanding, you can like a lot of people will take vacations to other parts of Europe, right?
Yeah.
But then in the States, people just take vacations to other parts of the States.
Yeah. I
And
guess you're a bit more like isolated there, aren't you? So it's just more convenient to travel domestically.
yeah, I would think so. But when is that meetup?
It's in July, I think. He's doing some sort of like create a house like documentary film thing. I don't know how to describe it, but it seems like good fun.
Yeah, that will probably be interesting. I look forward to checking it out.
Mm.
And yeah, I was gonna say I'm visiting Roy Ziv on in June, late
Oh,
June.
cool.
So yeah,
Where does he live?
he lives in Toronto, which is a little closer.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
not the opposite side of the country like where I am.
All right.
But yeah, cool, man. So you play guitar quite well. So I definitely want to get nerdy on this
Cool.
podcast about guitar playing and yeah, like get into some details. So to kick things off, I guess just what is your favorite guitar technique?
Technique. I mean, I kind of wear it on my sleeve, but I'm just well into sweep picking. Just something about it, man. It's like hypnotic and addictive. Ever since I learned it like years ago, I don't know, I was like 13 or something. Just like addicted to sweeping, man. Just up and down all day, every day.
So what age did you start playing?
I think I was about 12. Uh,
Gotcha.
yeah, maybe 11. No, I think it was 12, like just turned 12.
Right on. And how does one become a good sweep picker? Because that's a skill that a lot of people wish they could do, but they have trouble syncing their hands. They can get the right hand motion, but the left hand, like they have
Yeah.
syncing
For me, it
problems.
came really naturally. Like for me, alternate picking is like the bane of my life. I've never really got my head around alternate picking properly. So, and it kind of seems like it's like that with a lot of people. It's like one or the other. It's quite rare to find someone who's like amazingly, proficient at both. Um, and when I say alternate picking, I mean sort of like have a real grasp on like picking mechanics and like different types of slanting and like inside outside picking and all that sort of stuff. And I can't really do much of that. So I just sort of like stuck to what I'm good at. And yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the amount of granular detail that goes into being a proficient alternate picker.
I know, it's insane. Like when I discovered like the Troy Grady stuff, I was like, I had no idea there was that much to it.
I know, I know. Have
Yeah.
you tried implementing that, like the pick slanting stuff? And
No, like it's what sort of I've sort of like begun a little journey this year because I really want to get good at alternate picking. And I've sort of started to chip away at that stuff. But you know what it's like being a content creator. You just don't get much time to play guitar for you. So I'm trying to make a bit more time for that this year.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are you doing in terms of practice to help make sure that you actually hit that goal?
Filming my picking hands while I'm playing because it's find it hard to sort of like keep tabs of what I'm doing while I'm playing. My brain isn't really like that big. So I've got to film what I'm doing and then watch it back after to really get a grasp of how I'm doing certain things. And it's actually been very helpful. I sort of discovered that I'm like a sort of just a true straight up alternate picker. I just try and just straight up alternate pick everything in the same way that sort of like Steve Morse does. I'm not exactly sure what the type of picking that he does is, but it just seems like very sort of like not much to it, just really going for it. But I'm trying to like implement a bit more like finesse and try to work on my slanting. I'm actually working on trying to do like the whole Ingvar Malmsteen thing at the moment with like the sort of the thumb thing. It actually helps quite a lot for
Really?
the sort of more intricate kind of runs. Yeah, that I really struggle with. Um, so yeah, it's actually been quite good.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting because that's a debate. You know what I mean? Like the
Okay.
micro movements with your thumb versus
Yeah.
like doing it versus not doing it. Like I find like I don't personally do it myself. I know Kaio doesn't. Right? Kaio? Actually, maybe I don't know if I'm asking.
Yeah, right. I think I used to do at one point, but no, I don't do it. I also think it feels weird, especially when it's for high speeds.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I can't do it for high speeds. I can't do that. But for what it finds what I find works well for me is like mid tempo stuff. It's like specifically like that's what I find difficult. Like growing really fast is okay because you can just sort of like go all out balls to the wall. You don't really have to think about it too much. But like the more mid tempo stuff like really gets me like sort of scarified kind of tempo. That sort of like that kind of speed. I find those sort of things really hard to do with the way I pick. So I found I've had to like readjust my technique a bit for that sort of thing. And I found like the mounting kind of thing works really well for that kind of tempo.
Interesting. And for those of the like people watching that don't know what you mean, like can you explain what you're talking about in terms of tempo?
Sort of like imagine 16th notes at like that kind of tempo. I find that speed like really difficult to get clean. I don't know why. There's just something about it. My hand just sort of like falls apart.
No, I agree with you though because I was actually creating a video yesterday and I was like it's just going to be a short that comes out like how to hold the fucking pick, right? But I showed two different ways to hold the pick, and depending on what style you're playing, it might make more sense to go with one versus the other. And when
Yeah.
I was filming this video, I filmed a quick demo of doing each of the methods. And I noticed when I was trying to pick extremely fast, it was actually easier than slowing it down a little bit and still picking fast, but not like as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It's
it's
weird, and I think that's where I've fallen over in the past. It's like I've tried to apply the same sort of blanket picking technique to everything, and maybe that works for some people, but that doesn't work very well for me. Just the way I learned how to pick. So I've found I've had to use slightly different methods depending on like what I'm doing when it comes to alternate picking. It probably
Oh,
just comes down to the way I pick naturally is probably incorrect. Not incorrect, but not efficient.
I have a little bit of that myself. Sometimes I notice that I change the way I hold the pick depending on what I'm playing, just
Yeah.
because of how it'll sound, how easier or not it'll be for the technique. But I'm just curious, Bradley, because when we talked with Roy Ziv, I was shocked to hear that he felt that outside picking was harder for him because for me, I'm sorry, outside picking was easier for him because to me it's just a lot harder. How about yourself? Like, do you think that it makes a
I
huge
always forget.
difference?
I'm not exactly. See, this is the thing. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between those two things. Can maybe you could explain? I'm sure like maybe the viewers would find that interesting too.
Oh,
Because for me,
okay.
like the way I've learned this sort of stuff is just sort of like intuitively. I'm still in the process of like putting names on things when it comes to like picking mechanics and stuff.
Right. Well, when you're like going up major scale, like 3 notes per string.
Yeah.
So if you start with a downstroke in the first string, then you go to the
Yeah.
next one. Naturally, you would go to an upstroke if you're alternating everything. So that would be an outside picking because it would do a downstroke
Okay.
in the last note, and then you have to go over the string to hit it with an upstroke. So that's an outside picking, and I just think it's harder than if it was the other way around because then
Oh,
I have
okay.
to make a bigger movement. Because then for the next string that I'll change, because I started with an upstroke, then I'll finish with an upstroke, that string, and then I'll start with a downstroke. So it's just a shorter way that my hand will go. Does that make sense?
Okay. Well, yeah, in that example, I would definitely find starting if you're doing strict alternate picking, then starting with a downstroke would be much easier for me.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And what do you think? Because I remember you making a video about having small hands.
Oh yeah.
How small are your hands? Like, because they don't look small to me. I think they just look normal size.
I mean, like, without getting a fucking tape measure out, I'm not entirely sure. But I definitely have like under average hand size for a guy, like 100%.
Interesting. So, what is your advice to people that use that as an excuse to not be a
Oh,
good
it's
player?
yeah, it's a terrible excuse. I mean, like, sure, there are some things that are easier if you have bigger hands. Like, I reckon playing standing up is easier if you have longer fingers for sure. But also because I quite struggle with that actually. Playing standing, I have to have the guitar fairly high because my arms are kind of like short as well. So I can't have the guitar around my waist like I don't know, like Paul Gilbert or Steve Vai or something. Um, what was the question again? Oh, hand size. Yeah. So I think hand strength is like where it's all at. Just building your hand strength up is that's the only thing that matters really. Like you have hand strength, and yeah, that's all you need. The
Yeah.
only thing that you get really physically held back with, I guess, with small hands is if you're doing like big interval stuff, you know, like the whole sort of like Sean Lane, like diminished or augmented like interval things. That can be kind of a bit of a challenge with small fingers, but you know, it's whatever.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, like, it's kind of funny to me. I used to make a lot of videos playing chords that would be impossible to play just because they would span like 7 frets or so.
Yeah.
And I don't think that my hands personally are large or anything. I think they're just normal size. But it's just
Yeah.
because the way that they look on the fretboard, just the comment section is hilarious because they're like, "Oh my god, like look at those claws, man!" Like, but they're just pretty normal, right? So
Yeah. So I feel like you know, if you really train your hand strength, then yeah, hand size doesn't really matter, and you can make the sort of stretches that bigger hands can quite quite naturally.
yeah,
I found that a lot of people actually with big hands struggle because they're kind of a bit like be slow and cumbersome. Maybe it can take more to train bigger hands, perhaps. I don't
maybe, yeah. And people with bigger hands also struggle to get their hand into the can of Pringles. So you know,
know. Yeah.
it's a problem across the board. So so what do you think is the hardest guitar technique? Is that also alternate picking?
I mean, like objectively or like subjectively, like in my opinion, or
Let's go both.
um, hmm. I don't know. Some of that fucking contemporary shit is super hard, like thumping, and think like I find that insanely hard. I haven't really put any time into like proper time into learning it, but I've given it a little go. It's like just that whole more like sort of mathy modern way of playing. It's like pretty alien to me, you know.
Mhm.
Because I sort of, I guess you as well grew up in the more sort of like traditional stuff. It's tricky. I'd like to learn that stuff at some point, but yeah, that's hard. Um, I think yeah, for me personally, yeah, getting a grasp on alternate picking has been the hardest for sure.
Yeah, totally. I created a video where I listed 5 techniques in order of what I thought were the easiest to the hardest. Like for me as an individual, the
Yeah,
easiest of the 5 was legato. Like, what do you think? Do
yeah,
you agree? Yeah.
yeah, that always came easier to me, legato stuff for sure. Again, it comes back down to the hand strength. Like if you spent time training your hand strength, then you know, legato is a piece of piss. It's not difficult.
Yeah, exactly right. And then I actually put sweep picking as number 4 because I personally feel sweep picking is easier than the ones that I put beyond. And the ones that I put
Yeah, I never found sweep picking too difficult, to be honest. Once you
interesting.
get over that, like once you just have that sort of hand synchronization down, like that's it. That's all you need. Just about learning different shapes and stuff. Then, like
Yeah,
certain shapes are harder than others, but the actual mechanics behind it doesn't change.
yeah, 100%. And then I personally ranked, I think it was uh, hybrid picking, then alternate picking, then economy picking, just because I find economy picking is really difficult to naturally inject into your playing. I find you have to have
Yeah,
like,
I've never really got a grasp on like really fast economy picking. Anyway, I can sort of do it okay, but like yeah, not crazy fast.
yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, in terms of like the amount that you practice, do you find that you just kind of practice what you're going to play in your videos, or do you have like a
Yeah,
set
absolutely.
time?
Yeah, the majority of I say like 90% of when I play guitar now, it's like for videos, or if I'm doing some like band stuff outside of it, I'll do a bit of that. But yeah, my biggest goal for this year was to play guitar more for myself. I've been trying to. It's been quite nice to actually practice again.
Interesting. Yeah. But the content grind, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I love making videos, so it doesn't bother me too much. But I really haven't felt like sometimes you just feel like you haven't learned anything new in ages, and you just want to challenge yourself, keep it
Yeah.
fresh. Don't want to sit down and just play Tornado of Souls for like the millionth time, play something new.
Yeah, 100%. And that's actually something that I think people may or may not know about you, but something that I found, and I still find, it kind of came out like fans or something. I don't know what I was trying to say. But anyway, something that I find impressive about you is your work ethic. Because your main video, like the video that you have as the channel trailer on your channel, is like a 3 hour long video that you creating basically music to Lord of the Rings. And when I saw that, like, I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I was like skimming through it and I was like, the amount of work and the amount of effort that went into this is just insane.
Yeah. I mean, like, I wouldn't do that for like any film. I'm just Lord of the Rings has a special place in my heart, so it's something I always wanted to do. But yeah, I just really love making videos. But like a lot of YouTubers who in the music realm, they're sort of like sort of artists first and then like, content creators second. I'm sort of like the other way around for me. Like I like making videos as my sort of like number one thing. And like making like original music and stuff, it's sort of like a lesser priority. I like to do a bit of that, but I just like making videos. And when you really like to do something, you're more motivated to, to keep at it day after day.
Yeah, 100%. So the idea of burnout isn't something that ever, like, you don't ever
No,
see that as a
not
threat.
really. I guess when I was doing the Lord of the Rings thing, I was very close to being burnt out. Then that was yeah, a bit too much. But besides that, no. Because my videos are very short, I think that helps. If you make content that's fun for you, then you don't really get burnt out. But like if I made lots of content that I didn't want to make, like if I make lots of like long lesson videos or like gear videos, because I'm not really into making that sort of stuff, I would get burnt out super fast, like within weeks probably. But because I'm doing the stuff that I want to do, then it's fine.
Yeah, totally. For me, it's like I sometimes do not look forward to making videos. It depends on the topic. But what I really enjoy is seeing it when it's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because sometimes there's friction when it comes to turning on the camera. It's like, I got to set this up. I got to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
in frame. I got to make sure it looks good and all this shit.
Well, maybe you've experienced sort of like my world a bit because now you're doing like short form stuff like every day. Do you find that's more fun and you sort of like it keeps you coming back because it's like little sharp bursts of content?
Do I find that?
Yeah. Do you find it more fun doing lots of small videos rather than like working on like lots of big ones every so often?
I definitely enjoy the quick feedback. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you can invest a low amount of time into the piece of content and basically instantly see how the audience responds to it. And if they respond in a positive way, that could be a good indication that maybe it could be turned into a long form piece of content. And I do like that. But I find that the overall sense of fulfillment is not as great for short form compared to long term or long form.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that. But like my strategy has always been to like do lots of like short, you know, the sort of stuff I've done on my channel, sort of like 1 to 2 minute long videos sort of regularly. I find that strategy works well. I know like you guys laugh when I say I delete videos sometimes if they don't do well, but that's because I don't put much, you know, I never put more than a day really into like an average video. So I don't feel too bad if I have to, you know, unlist it or whatever.
Yeah, and everybody has deleted videos. Like I've deleted videos. Like everyone has, you know. It's like
yeah, I guess it's like liken it to, say if a band makes like an album, they spend like a year or two on it, like it flops, everyone hates it, and it's like, oh crap, that was like 2 years of our time, like, you know, not what I wasted, but you know, like could have been used better. Whereas if you just like make a single and it doesn't do too well, then oh whatever, it didn't, you know, it wasn't a massive amount of time invested into it, so just make another one.
yeah, 100%. I'm not in the business of making singles, but if I were, that would definitely be my approach. Or well, putting out original music, I would not create an entire album, dedicate 2 years of my life, not get any feedback before I launch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
So what's something that people think is true about guitar but isn't? And it could be something that is like that people perceive to be hard, people perceive to be fun.
Oh yeah, so one thing for sure is people's over-reliance on, well, I don't think over-reliance is the right word, but their perceived over-reliance on scales. They think like scales is everything on guitar. And I've never really agreed with that. I think there are like different schools of playing on guitar. There's more sort of like scalar based approach, and like I've always used a more sort of like arpeggio kind of based approach to like lead guitar playing. I don't know how much sense this is going to make. I mean, I discovered later down the line, after like sort of coming up with all this stuff, that it's like basically what like the cage system is. I was like, oh, get out to play guitar. Whereas I sort of picture everything on the guitar in sort of like arpeggio shapes into different inversions down the neck, and that's sort of how I learnt the fretboards and how to navigate around it. And I sort of find like with scales, like the scales just sort of like fill in the notes in between. Yeah. And that's like how I teach modes. I don't teach modes as scales. I teach them as like chords basically. You know, like different chord sounds, and you just sort of like fill in the notes of the chords. I find that sort of like a bit more intuitive and makes more sense in like the real world. I feel like if you just learn a bunch of scales with no context, it's not very helpful in like a musical sense, you know? You need like that sort of underlying context to go with it.
Mm-hmm. Man,
I don't know how much of that made sense, but you know.
dude, that makes so much sense because like you are speaking our language.
Okay.
This is Kyle and I both have this same philosophy, but we came to this conclusion independent of each other.
Okay.
It sounds like you've come to this same conclusion.
It's funny, isn't it? Like everyone has their own sort of like journey, but everyone sort of arrives at roughly the same point, but everyone sort of gets there a slightly different way.
Yeah, totally, man. Because like everybody learns the scales, right? Like you learn them and like you get the shapes down, but like when you try to improvise, if all you ever do is practice scales, then that's what comes out when you actually solo, right? You sound
exactly.
Like
yeah, I learned the modes and stuff like, you know, within the first couple of years of started playing, but I didn't really understand what the point was. It was like, it all just sounds the same. You know, what's this? This is meant to sound, you know, Fridge is meant to sound like exotic and Spanish. It sounds like shit. What's going on? And so like I think like chords are like the foundation of everything. I think if you get your head around chords, then everything else just sort of like falls into place. And that's something that a lot of rock and metal musicians kind of like skim over. And people are always like, I guess you get it as well. Like, what scale should I? What the best scales to do this? What the best scales for that? It sort of like just defeats the point of it.
So I can already picture the comment section of this. Some people arriving to the conclusion that you don't need to learn scales or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, the analogy I always make when talking to students about it, it's just that this is just like improvising or composing. It's just like speaking, and the scales are like the letters or even the words. So if you learn the letters, that doesn't mean you'll be able to speak well, right? So there's more to it, but you gotta know them, like they're there, like you gotta be able to use them. But yeah, they're not like I said, like if you don't visualize them as chords, for example, you will never
Yeah.
understand the sound of it.
Yeah. And it's important to let your students know that, isn't it, when they're learning this stuff. Because like the moment I sort of explained, you know, so one of my students was like, can you explain like Lydian? I don't understand how you make Lydian sound, like Joe Satriani, like how do you do that? And so like I just said, so if you ever hear like two major chords like in a row, like a C followed by a D, for example, that's just listen for that sound, and that'll be a Lydian sound. You don't need to know like what the chords are, as long as you know like a C major scale, then you can play Lydian, because like if you hear a D chord being played after a C, then you just have to change that one note and you'll get a Lydian sound. You don't need to know what the scale is. You just have to be able to recognize what that sound, what that vibe is.
Yeah, 100%. Was that asked by someone of the guitar school?
Yeah. So like my first few lessons were about sort of breaking down the modes into the way that I sort of think about them and teach them.
Gotcha. And you recently shut that down for good reason.
Yeah, temporarily. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
I told you guys, I just got like an offer from Twitch to do some streaming stuff, and I don't have the time. Like if it was another like 2 days in the week, then yeah, but just can't do YouTube and Twitch and like Patreon stuff. It's too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How important is it to focus on one thing? Because a lot of people will focus on a million things. So like, how important for you is focusing on one thing?
Oh yeah, it's super important. So like for the first I don't know, 3 years of YouTube, that's like all I did. I just focused all of my energy into YouTube to make that grow. But now I feel like I'm happy with where I'm at on YouTube, and I have some extra time. And now I sort of like been pushing to do something else on the side. So I started the guitar school thing, and then now Twitch came along. I think you just don't want to spread yourself too thin. Just
Mm-hmm.
always just be focusing on like one or two things maximum.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Because, yeah, for myself, 52-week guitar player is like the main thing. And then I have my YouTube channel as well, right? And then this podcast is kind of like, well, this podcast doesn't take a lot of time. Like, this is all the time I'm going to spend on it this week.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I could count that as a whole third thing. Plus, it blends in with the first two, right? So,
Yeah.
Guitar Shifts! 52-week guitar player is currently closed for enrollment. Enrollment resumes on June 16th. But if you join the waiting list, you will be notified before everyone else. This means you'll be among the first in line, which means you'll know before my entire YouTube channel and other social channels as well. So if you're an adult male that plays at an intermediate level, guitar used to be a big part of your life, but you had to set it down due to other commitments, you want to improve your knowledge of the fretboard, improv, and compositional skill, you're serious, and you want cut and paste practice routines that were designed by a professional and are proven to work, well, you've come to the right place, damn it. There are currently over 600 guitar players in our community who share many of these traits. You're gonna make so much progress here that all your friends get pissed off, but not even mad. Because we offer a 170 plus structured lesson curriculum. The lessons come with built-in practice routines that will tell you exactly what to do step by step, as well as why you're doing it and when to move on to the next one. A Facebook group to share progress videos and get professional feedback. Group Zoom coaching calls 3 times a week to have your questions answered and get your playing roasted. A new backing track shared every week for you to improvise over and get roasted on that too. Accountability, and we do this by making you share a progress video every week for 52 weeks in a row. If you fail to post, I will personally call you out. And very good looking instructors. And who we do not work with. Uncertain people. Busy, annoying high school students that have way too many things going on. Anyone looking for an easy route to be good. information gatherers that never take action, and people only looking to learn parts of songs. So if you're interested, here's what you gotta do. Step 1 is click this link. It can be found in the description of this video. It'll take you to this page. And then step 2 is just add your name to the waiting list. And that's it. It's fucking easy, mate. And now back to our conversation.
And have you started Twitch streaming yet? Because I was searching and I didn't see anything.
No, not yet. I spent literally all of yesterday setting up everything. It's just so much. It's so much upfront work and cost as well. It's just a lot goes into it. Like setting up all your channel and then like getting your OBS or your alerts and your scenes and all that stuff set up. That's a lot. But I think I'm nearly there. I'll probably start on the weekend.
Interesting. So do you have any plans for how you're going to structure the live streams yet?
Yeah, so I'm going to split it into 2. Half of it's going to be just sort of like reaction stuff. Like people request things for me to watch and react to and stuff. Just keep it chill. And then the other half, I have a plan to do like, so, you know, I used to do like the speedrun 5-minute things, like making songs in the style of a band. I want to do that, but like a whole album and like do it in a day. So like stream for a whole day, like maybe once every 2 weeks or so, maybe once a week if I can handle it. Like stream the whole day and just like record a whole album in the style of a band, like in my really sort of like crappy lo-fi style. I think that'd be a lot of fun, and I can use that for content on YouTube too.
That's true. That also sounds like a huge day in terms of
Yeah.
output.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Damn.
might be a bit ambitious, but I don't know. I think I can pull it off. We'll see.
If anyone can do it, it's you. So. But yeah, so like that kind of brings us back a little bit to work ethic. Like, what is your, like, how would you describe your work ethic? Is it just because you really love what you're doing that you're able to invest so much time?
Yeah, absolutely. I've tried to be like a proper entrepreneur, like get up nice and early, start my day with like cold showers and go to the gym and stuff. I can't do that. I just sort of like get up as and when and decide what I'll do on the day. And as long as my stuff gets done, it's fine. You know, there are probably a lot more efficient people out there when it comes to like using their time well. But, you know, I do what I need to do. I either put in like an insanely long day, or I just sort of do sort of bits here and there. Just sort of depends how I feel on the day.
Yeah.
And I find that's the way I work best. I find if I try and start setting myself deadlines or like setting alarms and stuff in the day, I can't do that. I start to get really stressed out. So I get distracted easily. And if I start to see myself fall behind, I'll start getting stressed and then like lose focus and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's easy to lose focus sometimes. Like, well, in these times, especially, I find I have to lock my phone away to help myself
absolutely.
stay focused,
Yeah.
you know? That's why in our group chats, I don't know if you ever noticed, but I'm like during the week, I'm very like, I wouldn't say very active, but I'm most active like at certain times of day.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've ever picked up on that, but it's like, yeah, when I break for lunch and everything.
No, it's good. Yeah, they can be super distracting, those group chats, but good fun as well. I mean, like, 'cause, you know, it's so isolating. Just like, I don't know about you, but I work by myself pretty much like all day, every day. So it's nice to have some sort of communication.
Oh, 100%, man. And yeah, that's what I'm really excited. Like, that's what I'm looking forward a lot to when I visit Roy in the summer. Like, just having someone to work with that is doing the same thing that I'm doing. I think it's going to be a really fun week.
Are you going to be like filming some stuff together?
Yeah, that's the plan. I told him like, hey, let's film 30 pieces of content. And he said, all right, well, let's give it a shot.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. And I guess it'll be something like you'll experience that kind of stuff too when you visit Jared. And
Yeah.
So that's going to be really
It's going to be
interesting.
great. I'd never seen Roy's content before until I joined the group. He's great. Like not just a great guitar player, but like his content is like, you know, super clever and like well thought out.
Yeah, he's a sharp dude. I find he's really good at taking things that he's never done before and figuring them out.
Yeah. I mean, like he sort of like solved the whole issue of like, you know, how do you keep somebody focused on watching the guitar straight for like, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute, and the way he sort of like splits between two people. I know it's like really clever. That's like a really clever way to increase retention with a guitar player.
Yeah, 100%. Shout
Wish I
out Roy.
thought of that.
Getting all this love. Cool. So what I've got a question for you that's more philosophical, but
All right.
if you had infinite money, how would you spend your time?
Infinite money. Oh, it's a tricky one. Yeah, so I guess you'd have to reflect on what the things that you do, for the bread to pay the bills, and like what the things that you do purely for fun. I guess in that case, like I would still do YouTube 100% because it's super fun and fulfilling. But I think what I would do would shift, like content wise. I wouldn't be so fussed with you trying to maximize revenue each month. So maybe I would probably upload less, and I would just purely do things that I found that I want to do for fun. Maybe some like more like covers. So I wish I could do like some more like covers and stuff, but obviously no money in that. So yeah, I would still do YouTube, but yeah, shift my focus a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, covers are fun. It kind of sucks. Like, I mean, some covers will still perform well, but like it has to be a certain piece of music for it to perform well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Outside of like that stuff, I have no idea. I mean, I'm not a very material person, but I feel like having infinite money would like fuck you up big time.
Yeah, I find it's an interesting question, which is why I asked, because like you're already doing something that you love, right? Which
Yeah.
can't be said for most people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Most people, unfortunately, are not in that boat. So it's like, well, when someone is doing what they love, like how would it change? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Blessed, truly.
Yeah, 100%, man. So do you have like, because earlier we were talking about goals that you set. Like, do you set yourself goals every single year, like at the start of the year?
Not really. I mean, it's ever since I went full time with YouTube, it's just been sort of like felt like I just sort of like held my breath and like I still haven't like let it out. It's just been like it's been crazy. But yeah, I guess it's important, isn't it, to just stop every so often and have a bit of retrospection. But I'm not sure. I sort of like I set like short to medium term goals, but long term I don't know, just sort of winging it.
Winging it, yeah. Fair enough.
No, like speaking to you guys over the past few months has made me a bit more motivated to be more savvy with revenue stuff, because I feel like I've definitely just been slacking in that department. Just being like enjoying making videos so much, I haven't really stopped to think too much about like monetization and all that. So it sort of made me definitely think more about that.
Oh, fair enough, man. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's good to like chat, and like have friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like none of my my IRL friends like do anything like this, so I'm just very much on my own over here. So yeah, it's great to have you guys.
Yeah, man. I always feel so bad when I find a friend or like an acquaintance in real life and they ask me to hang out. And like this actually happened to me last night. I saw someone at the gym that I knew and like not good friend, but definitely friend, Like
Yeah.
The only reason I would say not good friend is because we just haven't invested the time in. But anyway, I saw him for the first time in a couple years yesterday. And he's like, "Yeah, man, we should hang out, go grab a beer." And it's like, man, like that sounds enjoyable, but like, I probably won't get around to doing it just because like, I mean, what it's like living this lifestyle, right? It's just
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do try my best to keep weekends free, because that's usually because all my friends work 9 to 5s, so that's like the only chance I get to see them. So I try to keep weekends free, but yeah, like you said, you can't guarantee it all the time. You just got to take the opportunities when you can.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You must have a crazy schedule if you're like releasing content every day. You must be hella busy.
I mean, it's not too bad, honestly, because I found an editor and he is really good. Like all the videos that you see coming from me these days are edited by him. Okay. And yeah, so I'll film 7 videos, all short videos, over the span of 2 to maybe 3 days. But like, if I have to stretch into a third day, I'm kind of annoyed at myself because it should only take 2. So then I come up with the ideas and then I film it and then I ship it off to him and I'm good for a week. So it's actually not like as much time commitment as you might think. Okay. You know what I mean? I really want to get back into long form because like we've talked about this already, but long form just truly is where it's at. And this is a version of long form because we've been chatting for like 45 minutes now, but it's not the same as like
Yeah, it's a different audience, like podcast. Yeah. But
yeah.
it still has a lot of value. Like, they're only increasing in popularity, so it's a good idea.
Yeah, I really enjoy watching podcasts too myself. What do you watch for content?
All sorts, really. I mean, I try to keep up with like what's going on in like the guitar stuff, I guess. But also I just sort of like what I do often actually is sign in on like well, not sign in, but like open YouTube on an incognito window, and so it's all sort of like signed out and fresh, and then just start like watching stuff on the homepage for like content ideas, because that's a lot of my ideas just come from like other channels, and I just sort of like transfer that into my niche. Found that to work really well. And people you can't guarantee on the guitar music niche, coming up with good ideas all the time. It's kind of annoying actually. I've become the guy that a lot of people are getting ideas from now. Sort of noticed a lot of people pinching my ideas over the past year. But it's just like content just goes right in a circle, doesn't it? I find it from other people, wherever people find it, yeah, whatever. Like everything's up for grabs on the internet. But I feel like a lot of people in the guitar world, like they don't look very far for content. They just look very much inside their little, the little bubble. But to get creative, you've got to look further afield.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it definitely hits different when your ideas, well, you may have gotten the ideas from someone outside of the guitar space, but then someone from within the guitar space sees what you're doing and then kind of like runs with it himself, like I've seen it happen. Like it's happened to me. I'm also guilty of doing it though. So like, what can I say? Like
everyone is, but whatever. Like that's why I think there's no point getting butthurt over people taking your ideas. Like, whatever. Everything's like fair game on the internet, isn't it?
Exactly. And if they're getting better views and more reach, well, maybe
you should have done it better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. But you actually just received a copyright strike on your channel.
Yeah. Speaking of everything on the internet being a fair game, yeah, good segue.
So what's the story there? Like, let's give us
I made a video like it's probably about a year ago now. I know I love doing parody videos about Polyphia. I mean, I like them as a band, but I think like they're just like so they take themselves so seriously. They're just like easy targets for like satire. And so I sometimes do like little sort of videos like taking jibes at Polyphia. Like I did one last year, and so for the thumbnail, I just got a random picture of them from Google that I thought looked all right, and just sort of like warp their faces to make them look like funny, like I usually do. It was fine for like a year, I think. And then a couple of months ago, I got an email from my agent saying he'd received an email from someone at Damasio saying that, oh, we've seen that you and some other channels that you manage, they're using our copyrighted photographs. And basically just like a sort of a casual cease and desist. And like I thought it was bizarre because I had no idea that you could claim thumbnails. Supposedly you can. This is quite a recent thing, I think. Within the past year, YouTube have made this change. So this seems to be doing the rounds. You see, Shred's got a strike. Finn also got threatened, but I think he changed his, so he didn't get a strike. So yeah, it seems they've been doing the rounds on YouTube. I don't understand what they're trying to achieve there exactly. It's just like really pointless, heavy-handed policing of their content, which like doesn't really benefit anyone. It's sort of like the whole like Lars Napster thing all over again, just like living in the 2000s again.
Well, yeah. I mean, I try to look at it from their perspective and find the motivation. And when I look, because I saw the thumbnail, and I probably won't put it on the screen here, just because like if they're going that heavy with the hammer, like, but yeah, I saw the thumbnail that you made, and I thought it was hilarious. I laughed when I saw it.
It just makes it even more hilarious, the fact like it's that and they're getting like, butthurt over it. It's mad. It's not even like, like in when you get a trademark, you have to like actively enforce it like every few months or something. It's not even like that. It's just like so petty. Like there's no reason for them to have to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are they like salty over Polyphia leaving them for fishermen or something? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to like erase all trace of them or something.
I have no idea, but also for the audience, for you guys, a copyright claim versus a copyright strike, they're not the same thing. A claim is what people often bitch about when they create a cover or something, or they use like 8 seconds of a song, and then they get a claim on that video, and then they can't collect as much ad revenue from that video. Whereas a strike is something that actually negatively impacts your channel. If you get 3 of them, your channel is disabled, right? So, I mean, for someone who, like, you know, this is your livelihood, it's kind of a big deal, right? But they do disappear within 90 days, fortunately.
Yeah, I feel like in our niche as well, it's quite rare to get a strike. I feel like the days of like record labels handing out strikes for people using like their covers or like little snippets of audio, I think they're gone now. It's quite rare to hear about you getting a strike in our world. So yeah, it's really quite unusual. I mean, especially for a thumbnail as well. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it is. The only strike that I ever received was because I created 2 videos and I used a backing track from someone, and I used 2 of his backing tracks for these 2 videos, right? So 1 video per backing track. And he saw and he said, "Hey man, like, you're going to have to delete that video." And I said, "Oh, okay, sure man, I'll delete it." But the video that he was talking about was not the video that I deleted, because there were 2 of them, right?
All right.
So basically, he wanted me to delete video A. I deleted video B, and then I said, "Okay, it's deleted." And then like 2 weeks later, I got a copyright strike because he's like, "You never deleted it." And I was like, "What the fuck? Yes, I did." And then
Oh my god.
because he didn't know. He didn't know about video B. So I was like, "Oh shit, you were talking about that? Okay, yeah, let me go fix this." So basically, he just wanted me to put his information in, just say like where I got the track from and everything. So I did that, and yeah, now we're cool. But yeah, it was just.
Did he retract the strike in the end?
He did, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, DiMaggio said they would retract mine like a few hours ago, but haven't heard anything yet. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Maybe it takes like a couple business days to process or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I got notification of the strike like really early in the morning. Was it yesterday? So I figured like they probably weren't even like awake at that time. So yeah, there must be some sort of delay on it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So also, how was your trip to Japan? Random, but
Yeah, sick man, absolute. It was intense. If I do a trip like that again, like I'm not cramming so much into such a short space of time. It's like the people that I were traveling with, they were very conscious about doing the trip like as cheap as possible, and so they sort of like min-maxed which, you know, we just moved hotel all the time. Like we stay at this hotel on this day because it's cheapest, and then we moved to that one. So we ended up staying in 9 hotels over 2 weeks. It was insanity. I'm never doing that again. It was exhausting. So like the trip ended up being very cheap, I guess, which was nice, but it was very stressful and tiring. But yeah, it was great. If you ever get a chance to go, I don't know if you have, but it's amazing.
I've not personally been. Can we get a number for those curious about going to Japan? What it would cost if they were willing to go to 9 different hotels and they live in the UK?
It was actually insanely cheap because of that. I think all the accommodation in total was only like £300, which is like what, like $350 or something. Which is like, yeah, we were staying in like really sort of like cheap out the way places. This is why it was so cheap.
Oh my god, that's crazy. That's unheard of, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and the flight was about so in dollars probably about $1,000. It's like one short stop in Hong Kong. It was not too bad.
Man, that's a cheap trip.
That was a pretty cheap ass trip in total. Yeah.
Wow. That's like, man, my Toronto trip coming up is more expensive, and it's one of the most expensive trips I've had recently, and it's like I'm staying within the country. It's just stupid. Like
Yeah. It doesn't feel the same, does it? If you have like a big expensive trip like in the same country, it's like, yeah, it's cool, but like, oh,
yeah,
could be
I
more
don't know.
expensive.
Yeah. I've only ever been to 3 countries, and they're all like more or less the same shit. I mean,
How did you find the UK?
I found it. I mean, the stereotype is that it rains a lot, which it did rain pretty much the entire time I was there, except there was some sun, but I mean, it was an okay trip. I met Sophie Burrell, so that was cool. Met her,
cool.
yeah, at a guitar show, and I stayed with my buddy that I went to university with, So it was actually cheap in that regard because I didn't have to pay
Hmm.
to stay with him. And yeah, I was in London for the majority of the time. And yeah, I mean, it was not bad, but like when I was in London, nothing really stood out to me as particularly exciting. Because usually when I travel, like there's a reason to travel that helps me write it off as a business expense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the guy, I met someone in Bath, and he was a business guy, business coach that I paid, and that was the main incentive to go. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, compared to like a trip where I went to LA, like I met Rudy and we hung out, we spent like 30 hours together, and I met some other guys that I had known from online. Like it was a really good trip that way, you know. So
Nice. Yeah, I mean that's the UK in a nutshell, really. It's not that exciting, but that's sort of like its appeal. It's like very moderate country, you know. It's like the weather's not too bad, it's not too good. Like the people are okay. The sights are like it's nice and pleasant, but it's not like wow, there's like Burj Khalifas or anything, It's
yeah.
it's just nice.
Yeah, that's you've got quite a lot of guitar guys in the UK, like that are on YouTube.
I suppose so. I mean, who
I think.
else besides me?
So there's you, there's Sophie, which she's not a dude, but point still stands.
Yeah.
There's McRocklin, and
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, I think there are more. They're not coming up, but
Yeah, I mean, like compared to America, it's like there's not much. I feel like there's more in Europe. I don't know. My mind's gone blank, but yeah.
yeah, fair enough. Cool, man. Yeah, so I have some questions here because I asked my students if they had any questions for you.
Okay.
And I've got a couple questions here, and I don't fully understand all of these questions myself.
Okay. Go for it.
And yeah, so let's see. One of them was about miming. So
Okay.
I don't really remember it word for word. I just kind of paraphrased. Where do you stand on miming?
Miming. What in terms of what, like videos or live performance?
Videos, I guess.
Well, for videos, like pretty much everyone mimes like rhythm stuff. Just because it's like just it's way easier and more time efficient just to like track your rhythm playing and then just mime it on camera. But for solos, I never mime solos. It's just hard. It's really hard to mime solos properly to get like the little inflections and stuff and details. I feel like it's more hassle than it's worth. You might as well just record it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for live playing, I mean, I guess it's better to just play it, but I don't really care enough to like get super butthurt if a band mimes or whatever. As long as like as long as I do it well enough that I'm like blissfully ignorant, then who cares? If it was a good show and I enjoyed it, then fine.
Fair enough. And so I don't know. See, like this next question is I don't know if it's opening a can of worms or not, but somebody asked what happened between you and Alex 5000.
All right, that's an obscure reference. So Alex 5000, I don't know if you know him. He's like a smallish YouTuber. He's from the UK actually.
Okay.
And he like his thing was like he used to do like one take live playthroughs of like whole albums. I think he did like Passion and Warfare and like some Van Halen album and some like a bunch of like 80s albums. He sort of like done live one take playthroughs, which is like very cool and impressive. And for some reason, like he started some like beef with me like early last year. I can't remember. Like he said I was like stealing his personality or something. Because like he sort of acts kind of like goofy and stuff on camera, and he's British, so I don't know. It's apparently that's enough similarity for him. I think he just said it sort of like as a remark on stream one time, and some like viewers latched onto it and like sort of brought it to me, and he made some video about it. But
Right.
I've forgotten about it already.
Yeah. So so do you have ill will toward him because of that, or nah? Like
no, not at all. I think we made peace over that.
Okay.
It's kind of funny, if anything. I don't know. If you have someone ever accused you of stealing your personality before, kind of a weird thing to be accused of.
Oh, dude, totally. Like Davey 504, right? Yeah. Do you know the story there?
No.
Well, the only reason we're talking right now is because in 2020, Davey504 gave me a shout out, right? So
All right.
my channel was at 1,200 followers, and then it went to 15,000 overnight. And when that kind of traffic goes to one channel, like the algorithm rewards it. So that's basically how I got my start on YouTube, right?
The same with me with Rudy. Rudy shouted me out. And I went from like 300 subs to like 1,000 overnight. I was like, that was my break. I was struggling big time before that.
Really? What a nice
Yeah.
guy. What a nice guy Rudy
Yeah.
is to do that.
It's like when I did like a video playing Tornado with Soul Solo backwards, and he like shared it on his community page. Like, when was that? Like 2019, I guess.
Crazy. Yeah. It's
Good
always,
lad. I think he must have only been at. I guess he wasn't even at 100k subs then. He must have been at like, 50 or 60k or something back then.
man, yeah, it's so interesting to like know the history, you know,
Yeah.
between guys. But yeah, basically with Davey504, yeah, he gave me that shout out, and I started like mimicking his style, and people would always rip on me for that. And I've definitely toned it down over the years, like, because I knew how to edit exactly like him. So I started intentionally not doing things that he would do because I wanted to, like, you know, create more distance between the personalities. I didn't want people to just continue to call me a Walmart version of Davey.
I like the persona you got going on your videos. It's really entertaining. It's just sort of like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like sort of really aggressive, but sort of like, I don't know, like honed in and like flat at the same time. It's like quite funny.
I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, so the short answer to your question is yes, I have been accused of that, but a lot of people have. I mean, they also said that Davey504 just copies PewDiePie. So like
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think they still say it, but probably some do. I don't know, but
Yeah, well, like, creators sort of come in and out of popularity, don't they? I feel like Davey's like over his peak now. Like at his peak, yeah, he was getting a lot of that, wasn't he? I guess.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, you do seem to be right, but like everybody has like an arc, you know, like they'll you know, I also like my channel right now, well, thankfully it's starting to pick up again, but I mean, it really peaked hard in 2020 and 2021. And then I took a break to build my version 2 of 52-week guitar player, and then it totally died, and now it's on an upward trajectory once again. But yeah, it's like everyone has a lifespan.
Exactly. It's all about, it seems like, when you come up with like a new exciting like idea or format, and you can keep that momentum up. It's sort of like when people get back into the public eye.
Yeah, I wonder what it's like for people that are actually famous, like real famous people. You know, like Ed Sheeran. You know, go to your backyard.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about this actually with my girlfriend yesterday. How like, because I guess we can call ourselves like micro celebrities, right? We're sort of like we're well known, but like in a very sort of like specific set of people. But and even that can be like you can get a few recognitions and stuff like out and about, or like you earlier where you said like your guy came over to your house. So like just even if you can get that at like at our size, then just think what it's like when everybody knows you in the street. It must be mad.
Yeah, crazy. The maintenance guy he's talking about.
Yeah.
The maintenance guy came to my apartment, but yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Like I can't imagine what it would be like. And do you consider yourself to be like fairly introverted or more extroverted or like somewhere in the middle?
No, definitely more extroverted than introverted. That's why it sort of does me in a bit, just staying at home, working on like, by myself on the computer all day. But I need some time to go off, let out some steam and see other people and stuff. Yeah.
Gotcha. You would probably handle random strangers approaching you on the street if you were extra super famous better than I would, because I'm kind of in the middle, but throughout my history, like I've always kind of been more introverted, but
yeah,
I now am a little bit more extroverted, like 2%, just because my life has been making videos and being alone like all the time. So it's like, now I actually like human interaction.
Definitely affect you. Yeah. 100%.
So yeah. Another question someone asked here is did you start using American spelling? Like you started using American spelling and you
That's such a specific question. Wow.
it tied into like another paragraph. I'm basically condensing.
Yeah, well, I generally prefer using American spelling over English spelling because it's actually closer to what English used to be. The Americans sort of like preserved it a bit more. The way English write is a bit more sort of like tainted by the French. So
those French
I
bastards.
I like it. Yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
fr- I'm
I
fr-
like the American way. And also like for SEO purposes, yeah, everything on the internet is in American English, so you sort of have to. Makes more sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. And I just realized it sounded kind of racist to say those French bastards, but Dion is French. My last name is French. Okay, so, but yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. And so the same person that asked that question, like about the spelling, he referenced your video and he disliked how you called older players dinosaurs. So,
Okay.
what is your response to that?
That's probably like one of my sort of like ranty videos I went on about like do you remember about the that thing with like the laptops with falling in reverse and like Sebastian Bach, that was that whole drama like a few months ago. Or like falling in reverse, like I had to cancel some shows because they lost their laptops, and like loads of older rock stars sort of like lambasted them for it. Do you remember that? It was like in the news for a while.
I didn't follow that. No.
Okay. Yeah, I made a video about that, just sort of like it was a bit clickbaity, but basically, yeah, I was just sort of like saying that I wish the older, well, not just older generations, but like there's so much like traditionalism in rock and metal. I wish people would just sort of like come into the future a little bit. Like when I say dinosaurs, I don't necessarily mean like people being old. I just mean people having that sort of like old traditionalist mindset, like stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And like it could definitely take some lessons from like hip hop and stuff, which sort of like stays more modern or like on the cutting edge of like technology and stuff. But like rock's still sort of like dragging its heels behind a little bit.
It really has always been that way with rock and metal. Maybe not metal so much. I don't know, but it kind of seems like it has a reputation for that stuff.
Exactly. It's just gonna, be its downfall eventually. No one will care eventually. It'll just come to a point. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, some people argue that downfall has already come, right?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I feel like yeah, metal's doing all right. I suppose like there's a lot of younger bands that are doing well. It seems. I don't really like follow rock too much. I suppose. But I don't know. It seems like guitar music can sort of come back into the forefront a little bit compared to like 5 years ago, for example. Do you think?
Maybe. I think, yeah, like, of course, our perception might be a little bit more distorted because we're surrounded by it.
Exactly, yeah.
But, I mean, I've been surrounded, like, I've been in the online game, been playing this online game since 2017 now, and there's definitely more players online. Like there's a greater presence of that kind of music. So I mean, maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe it's like our own perception not being totally accurate, but also there objectively is a bigger presence.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've definitely found as well with YouTube's got harder over the past couple of years, just like more and more, saturation, more people joining in the party. It's like there's only so many views to go around. It's getting harder and harder to get a slice of that pie, isn't it? For sure. With like shorts as well, everyone's after a slice.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that, man. It's but I also think some of it had to do like there's like two main reasons. The first reason, like over the past couple of years during the pandemic, there was a lot more people online just because they were stuck at home.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the coin is, yeah, a lot more people have recognized the value of having an online presence. And that's like, that saturated a very already saturated space. So, yeah.
I feel like we started at a good time. We probably started around a similar time, right, on YouTube, I would imagine.
When did you start?
Very early, like end of 2018, start of 2019.
Yeah. So you were on like, I mean, were you just like YouTube consistently pretty much at that time?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't even know that like there was a whole like guitar thing on YouTube until like 2018. I sort of discovered like Jared Dines and I guess Rudy as well at that point. That stuff was sort of like in its like prime, I guess, probably around that time, like K-Mac as well. I feel like that was sort of like the golden age of guitar YouTube, those sort of years. Yeah, and I sort of discovered all that stuff and then sort of like started trying it myself in 2019.
Interesting. Yeah. So you were probably like, we did start, like when I officially started was in 2017, but I went to YouTube, realized it was very difficult, switched to Instagram, grew to 100K.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Instagram was easier. And then returned to YouTube in 2020 when I got that shout out from Davey. And the only reason I was able to get that is because I told my Instagram followers to spam him until, yeah, because I created a video called How to Davey 504. It's like,
Right.
yeah, it's an important video in Brandon history because it was the video that kind of like changed the game.
Is it still up there? You haven't deleted it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, How to Davey 504. It's that was my first like real YouTube video that got views because I got the attention from Davey. So
Sick. Oh, I'll watch that after the call.
yeah,
Not that thumbnail, man.
what's that?
The thumbnail. It's just like you like.
Yeah, we'll have to put the thumbnail on the screen for people watching. But yeah, no, it's a good one. I apologize in advance for you having to watch it because it's oh, right on, man. Well, Bradley Hall, where can people find you on social media?
I've got it now. So literally every place I'm at is / Bradley Hall Guitar. That's very convenient. So all the platforms that I'm on. I'm not on Facebook and Twitter though, but everywhere else you can find me.
Fair enough. Well, everyone, make sure you go check out Bradley, drop him a follow on all the social platforms. And do you have any words of advice for guitar players out there that are frustrated and struggling with the instrument and feeling pissed off?
Stop worrying about scales and work on your hand strength. There you go. 2 biggest pieces of advice.
All right. And there we have it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, Bradley. And all right, that's all we got.
Thank you very much. See you later, man.
Okay, bye.